We're going live, and it says you are live. All right, hello everyone, it's MCB here, and welcome to another marvelous live stream. I haven't done one of these in a long time. So much stuff has happened, and I'm actually on a new laptop right now. So I've had to redo all my streaming stuff, and by redo my streaming stuff, I mean I forgot that I'm on a new laptop, and I had to very quickly attempt to set things up in a way that is sensible, but I do not know if you can, I tested a little bit, right, but I don't even know if the settings are in the best order. So is the picture quality fine? Like, let me try to move around here. Is the picture quality fine? Can you hear me all right? I'm working with a built-in laptop mic, so it's probably not going to be the best, but I do have it. I think it's decent. And I have a little other thing running in the background to kind of help reduce background noise. So how is it going? Yay, Martin ASMR. Yes, maybe. Oh, gee, I see with the YouTube chat, there's a whole thing. Let's put that down there. There's a whole bar. I don't know why it does that. Here we go. I think I fixed it, so you can't see it. Hello world, says Nia. Hello. Let's see, I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay. There we go. It's okay. Yeah, it's probably not going to be the best. But we have some things to test today. And actually, let me close my window. Can you hear things? Like, my sort of noise gate suppressor should be fixing that. I like having the window open because I haven't seen the outside world for a few days. I have been working away at things and chilling. In particular, I just finished my finals, and that was good. Ending with all A's, it's legit. But that was a lot of work, and that was very painful. To try to get all the stuff done, but I got it done, and it went well. So I'm very glad to report that. And now I can finally do things on Libre Galaxy games that I've wanted to do for a bit. I just realized I actually should probably have the chat up. Not much else really. Okay, that's good. Here we go. I wish I had dual monitors here. That would be a good setup to have. Wow, I'm getting an advertisement. I'm trying to pull up my stream on my phone so I can read the chat. I'm getting an advertisement on my own stream. What is this? I don't want beauty cosmetics. Stop this. No beauty cosmetics, por favor. Oh my gosh. Okay, how am I going to set this up? I probably should have thought of this before. Actually, that's fine. Okay. So, changes on the server. Some things have changed, and they're pretty important. And I want to see if anyone has noticed them yet. What changes have you noticed on the server? Well, there are definitely a few, and they could be right here. They could possibly be more obvious. It could be obvious, or they might not be obvious. When MC VTuber debut, when I get a cash injection of like a couple $1,000s or something so I can afford it. I mean, honestly, like, I would have my webcam on, but that's, I don't know, not feeling it. But I could have a VTuber model, so I don't know, guys. Help fund my VTuber model or something. I say that like you can give me money. You actually can't give me any money. I have super chats disabled on here. And also I have some latency on the stream, so it's going to be not as real time. But this is for a purpose. The purpose for this is to enable closed captions. I want people who need closed captions to be able to use them, and theoretically, I think my stream is going to be in a high resolution. Like, okay, can you check the video? Can you see an option that's greater than 1080p? It might not actually be at that resolution. I realize that now. Because I have a weird display. It's like a, it's not a, it's like a 2.5K display. I selected the option to not like compress the image, but when I was testing it before, it was 1080p. But that was when I was on ultra low latency mode. So I wonder if it's gonna be nice. No, okay, it's just 1080p. Okay, is the picture good? Like, is it crispy enough? Is it blocky? Blocky or is it clear? I hope it's clear. I did do a little testing for this. 1080p highest. Okay, that's fine. At least it's not like 360p. Yeah, okay, that's probably something I need to go and fix. Because YouTube might not actually have a 2K option. So it's probably like, you're either going to stream in 4K or you're going to stream in 1080p. I do not know. It's okay, alright. Things to look out for in the future. So, let's go over the changes on the server. There is some cool stuff. So, I rewrote the menu and player caching system. That took a lot of time. This is something I started working on since, well, before finals, actually. I started working on this a little bit ago. In essence, who has been on the server and you've clicked the visit others thing and it just crashes the server? That has happened. That's something that used to happen. It was really, really, really bad. And that has to do with the player caching system. So the first one that I did, how it worked is that it wrote the player data to a file. So like, for example, when you logged in, it would save your username, your UUID, and your skin data. There's actually two parts to a Minecraft skin. There's the value, and there's the signature. And if you want to apply a skin, you actually need both of them. You need the value, which is basically the texture URL in JSON, and the signature, which in essence is like basically says that it's been signed by Mojang insofar as it's been a skin that has been worn. Does that kind of make sense? Like, you can't just say, here's a Minecraft skin, and I want to add it to a player, for example. You can't do that. The player has to have worn the skin, like uploaded the skin to Mojang servers, and then it has the combination of the value and the signature. That's only for if you want to apply the skin. Interestingly enough, for a head, you actually just need the texture, from my understanding. You do not need a signature for that. So, anyways, that's some technical mumbo-jumbo. Suffice to say that I say all this to explain that these are the components that were cached in the old caching system. And they were saved to a file. So when you join the game, this data is pulled from your Minecraft account very easily because you're already in the game, and it just pulls it and saves it. So that way, when you open up a menu, for example, it's able to display the head. Because where does it get this data from? Well, it saves it. Now, this was a bit problematic, as you can imagine, particularly with Bedrock players. Because with a Bedrock player, it's kind of glitchy where their skin doesn't load. And data cannot be pulled after the fact. Or at least that's what I thought. You see, there is an official API. Oh god, why are people texting me? Here you go. Mojang API, and I'll switch over to the browser. Here we go. Let's see if I can do this here. Let's not like leak everything here, but here you go. Mojang API, and this is where you can actually request different information. It's pretty neat. I forget which one was I doing. I think it's skin and cape. This is what I would do. So I'd figure out what the player's UUID is. For example, if they're not online, they're not saved. Like if you're like basically doing like P group, for example, and you want to do like, oh, P group Notch. Notch is never played on my Minecraft server, so I cannot. How would it know how to get this data? it needs to have the data to be able to display the skin and also to have the UUID. Because in the background of the planet system, it doesn't save it based on username, because usernames change. Usernames can be changed, and then that would break everything. We saw that on a different Minecraft server I used to work at, to work on, where they actually did save it accidentally. Well, not accidentally. They saved it using names, and when people would switch their username or change it, they wouldn't have access to what they had access to previously. So that's why it's so important to have a UUID associated with the player, and that's something that Minecraft does have. But again, if you're just typing in pgroup Notch, how do you get this UUID? Notch has never played on my Minecraft server. Well, I still want to add him. Am I just going to say you can't do it? Well, that's an option. But a better way of coding it is to then do an API request to Mojang and say, hey, I have this UUID, which you can figure out with another API request. Once you have the UUID, you can then ask it for this information. So, for example, it would have the ID here. This is the UUID, this is the name, then the properties is where the texture is and where the signature is. Although for the signature, actually, you need to do a separate parameter. Yeah, unsigned equals false, and that will give you the signature. So, hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what the heck a player caching system is, what's the point of it, and how the previous implementation worked. Okay, so that was a previous implementation. It saved to a file. So, in essence, it would write to the file when a new cache was added, and it would read from the file when it wants to look up a value. And this worked for a while. And I think part of the reason the system broke down, it's called bit rot, apparently. It feels like that shouldn't be the correct name for it. When I think of bit rot, I think of like a disk, kind of the bits are getting shifted and stuff like that. Like I think of an original iPhone, you know what I mean? Like that disk at this point is just so like, the bits have been moved, it's kind of corroded, like it's all screwed up because it's a really old disk. I think of that as bit rot, but a bit rot is also a software term, apparently. Learned this recently, where software just degrades over time, not because it's bad software, but just because things change. And I think that's part of what actually happened with the player caching system that was on the server before, is that maybe like a URL route changed or something. I really don't understand what was going on. I tried to fix it previously, but it didn't work, where sometimes the values could not be read from the file. Which, it's like, what are we doing? Why can't it be read from the file? I don't understand this. But that was really something that would happen. And the problem with that is that if it can't read it from the file, it's either going to, like, not work, the server's going to stop working, or it's going to basically try to do a bunch of API requests because it can't figure out the data from the file. Well, guys, there's a big problem. Because when this weird bug would happen, it would have to do, and think about how many planets to display here. Like 324, so let's just say, and there's a lot more data in the background, but let's just say 324 profiles would need to be loaded, okay? You can only do 600 requests per 10 minutes. So this is within range, but if this bug continued, it would be significantly worse, considering that this is a request limit. But honestly, the API is limited in other ways that's not documented. And I can tell you this because I've tried it. Where if you load up if you do a bunch of API requests in quick succession, it will like block you at some point. I think it's like if you do like 100 or something, I'm not even sure what it is. But at some point, it will block you. And that's not very fun. So, again, this is all running on the main thread. Oh, that's the problem. All of my stuff was synchronous. It's running on the main thread. So guess what happens? The server freezes. So randomly the server, when you click to visit others, I don't know why it wouldn't load correctly or what the problem was with that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it would freeze the server because it has to wait for the API requests to go through. And then sometimes it would be blocked. And, if the server doesn't tick, because it would block the tick. It's blocking the main thread. when it would block it, the server freezes, and then eventually the server would crash. Suffice to say, that's not what you want on a production server. Not at all. So consider the fact that I have learned a lot in terms of being a developer, and I'm still improving my skills. I'm not going to pretend like I'm the best developer in the world. But I've certainly learned a lot, and I'm getting better at it. And a part of this is kind of transitioning between, the basics to the more advanced, and just slowly kind of implementing better practices as time goes on. And I really think this is why when people are like, oh, Martin, I want to learn to code, but I don't know how to code. It's like, bro, just start. Just start to do it, and you'll get better. You don't need to honestly even know a whole lot. To begin with, you don't need to study the documentation per se, especially now with AI. But it's like, it's a process. Learning things is a process, and it's a little frustrating to a degree where it's like, oh, I just learned that you could do this a whole lot better, and now I have to rewrite all my software. But that's kind of how it is sometimes. So, suffice to say, there are problems. It's written to a file, and there's weird problems with the YAML file and serialization. I don't know what the problem is. It's probably something to do with the fact that there's a weird artificial limit in the YAML document. And then on top of that, there is the synchronous nature that blocks the server and breaks things. So again, consider all these different factors that are bad, and things that you can say are lessons learned. I learned that, okay, I've done synchronous stuff, and it worked for a long time, but now it is time to go async. Async is, in essence, think of things happening in parallel, right? It's not one after the other. It's like the main thread can continue, and then it will just have like an extra branch going out and doing its thing for a little bit until it concludes. That's kind of what asynchronous is. And I'm like, okay, we need to add some asynchronous stuff here. We need to switch up these components to be asynchronous. What this necessitates is that the entire player caching system be rewritten. Because now it's like, okay, we're not saving to a file, by the way, too. Because after we talked about the file problems, I'm like, okay, here's what we need. We need a central place of truth. And I think with the file, there's problems with that. And maybe it was because the file was shared between two servers reading and writing to it. I'm not even sure. And I don't want to worry about files anymore. I want a database. So that's exactly what I did. So I rewrote the entire player caching system. No longer is it in a file. It's now all in a database. And this data can be queried. It is fantastic. So now there's no longer any kind of concern about files being overwritten or things like that. And now it's done in an asynchronous manner. So there's no main thread blocking. So overall, it's great. It's like, hey, I've learned that doing it in sync is not great. Doing it in files, not always great for big things, especially when you're storing a whole lot of data. Sometimes a database is better. These are things I kind of knew, but just didn't want to get around to exactly. But now it's like, okay, the time is here. Time to improve. Time to get this going. And I did. Now, after the player caching system is done, the menu system has to be rewritten. Because just like the player caching system, the menu system was synchronous. And that's a problem, because now that the player data is asynchronous, when you render the data's not ready yet. You have to wait for the data to be ready. So the menu system stopped working. If you're using, asynchronous stuff, it would not work. So then you have to rewrite the menu system. And honestly, this is a much needed thing, because the menu system before, how it worked is that you would add, like in the code, you would add all of the stuff you wanted into the menu, then you'd open it. So you'd have to just like render everything out first and then open. and then you couldn't update the menu at all. That's pretty annoying. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. So with this new system, it's asynchronous, and how this works is that it continues to refresh. The data in the menus is refreshed, which if the menu system breaks, you will see that you can like, there's ways to break the menu system if I didn't code it in right. If I didn't, for example, like register the menu properly. And you could see that the data keeps being added in and refreshed in the slots. Yeah, pretty good. And that allows for the asynchronous operations to work. So the menu can open and the asynchronous data can come in later. But again, later is pretty quickly. We're talking about, probably like a few milliseconds or something, but still it's later. So it's just, all these changes that needed to happen, they've happened. And I hear a bird chirping outside. I'm going to close my window. Oh, the birds. So, suffice to say, rewrote the menu system and player caching system. Does that make sense? Does my explanation make sense, y'all? I do hope so. So, yeah, those the big things. Then on top of that, working on the menu system here, the /p menu. And I finally added in the export option. You could have done it with the command, but now it's really easy to access by clicking the boat. Because, it's a boat, you're sailing off, so I think it's a nice icon for export. And what this does is it will kick you out of the world and then zip it up, and then it'll provide a temporary zip file for you to download that gets deleted in like 15 minutes or something. Then copy is to copy the world into a new planet. And then there's edit warps to finally, again, adding this to the menu. It should have been there before, but I forgot to add it or just didn't have time or whatever. It's finally there. Also with this new menu system, you'll see this here. When I click visit others, look at how fast this is. There's no lag now. Again, it's, sometimes it has to pull down data, but it actually like adds in the data into the memory when the server boots, so all the, like the 300 or 400 records is actually in memory right now. That's why it's like super quick. Like there's no API requests that need to be done. But if you're gonna add in, p group, and we're gonna add in afmal, boom! Look at how fast that is. And it actually works. And there's also a back button now too, that like. Yeah, I finally added like a back button for most menus. It's pretty nice. But check out that there is a new, and it might be a little glitchy, but it is what it is. It's still too slow. It has to be 5-tick delay. Yeah, exactly. So the heads for this might be a little glitchy. I'll have to see what I can do with that. That's mostly because this is refreshing the button. So there's some polish to be done in certain places, but see that there's no back button here because this is the first page. When you click this, the back button suddenly appears. And then when I go to the last page, it disappears. There is no other forward button because you can't go forward. It's just things like that just like make sense. So these nice little improvements to the menu are great. Also, I improved the menu system so they unload. That's where some bugs might be introduced. Because a part of how the menu system works is that it has to register the items. Like, each item gets a particular UUID, and that UUID is then tracked. At least that's how it used to work, actually, with the old system. Anyways, suffice to say, the menus are now unloaded. So if the menu suddenly stops working, please let me know and see if you can reproduce those steps. because that means there's a bug in the menu unloading system. Because otherwise, like this, it's all about like clearing up memory, right? Because there's 12 gigabytes of memory, and if you have these items and menus kind of just sitting there that have been opened but then are closed and don't need to be there anymore, it makes sense to like unload them and remove them from memory. And that's what the system does properly too, because I don't think it even did that before. Because it was scuffed. Yeah, jump to the end. That would be interesting. Potentially for like large menus. I'll think about that. But yeah, a lot of improvements. And then of course the typical stuff, added 3,000, over 3,000 new heads to the head menu. And also I fixed a bug. If you would, this is embarrassing. If you, again, this is all in relation to the old player caching system. If you clicked on Mark's head format, it would literally crash the server. It doesn't do that anymore. That was because of the bit rot bug that was coming up from before, where it would basically request, because these are all like actual players. You know, this is like old school Minecraft, what it used to be with MHF. Old school Minecraft here. Where they would actually make an account, and you know, these would be decorative heads you could use. And you know, with the old caching system, it's literally like asking for the player data. It's not even saving the texture. With these, it's just saving the texture. You know, it's super quick. But with this, it's actually pulling down and requesting the data for the player. So that's why it would crash before, because you know there was the problem with it before. But now it doesn't do that because the player caching system is fixed. So all these little bugs have been fixed. Or actually, that's not a little bug. That's a pretty significant bug, and it's been fixed. So suffice to say, the server is a lot more stable now. The server is running much better. The systems have been improved. And I'm very, very happy with this result. It just, things are better now. The server isn't going to crash, and hopefully it's going to mean everything is more stable. Because, you know, there's ways to crash the server if you really want to. But this way of crashing the server by simply using the server normally, that doesn't happen anymore. Fantastic. So yeah, that's just, I wanted to share that. I'm very proud of this. I got this working, and it took a lot of work to get this stuff done. You know, something I've been slowly working towards before my finals, and then after my finals, just spending long nights kind of finishing this stuff. Because think about it, I have to rewrite the player caching system, then the menu system, and then I have to change all of my plugin code around it to support the new systems. So, you know, it takes a little bit. And to be honest, like, most plugins have been moved over, but not everything has. But a lot of stuff has. Like, most things have been moved over. So everything in the Planet system is now running on the new system because that needs to be the most stable thing, right? Everything from Libre heads, all of this is moved over. Skin, this menu has been moved over. But a few things might not be. Like the WEM. There was a special world edit menu I was working on before. That menu has not been moved over. I forget what the command is. I should really remember what the commands are. But yeah, good stuff. Yeah, so a lot of coding updates here. It's kind of difficult now because I'm like, whoa, that was the big thing that I was working on, and now we're moving forward, and now I need to think about what's next. I have a whole list. Actually, let's not leak too many things here. I have a whole list of stuff on my Nextcloud that kind of goes into what should be done next on the server. And there's a few cards here, y'all. There's a few cards. And it's honestly a little overwhelming to look at all this stuff that kind of should be done, can be used to improve the server. A lot of stuff. So now I actually took an organizational behavior uh, class this semester, and I'm thinking, oh man, what can I do to make things more efficient here? And a part of that is having my team help me. The problem is that for a lot of things they kind of can't because it's coding stuff. But um, nevertheless, I want to kind of provide opportunities to not have to do everything. In terms of like working on new features and stuff. That's why we have a build team actually on the server. And these different projects are being worked on. So like even like Skyblock and different things are coming at some point on the server, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's show us. Yeah. But yeah, so there's a new spawn refresh. This is the next big thing that needs to happen on the server. Now that this update is hit, I was thinking about waiting until, doing like a big release update like we did for what was the update? I don't even know what I called it. It's where Nia released his Redstone Temple. It was that update where it's like that had an update, then a bunch of heads, then new server features. Like it was a nice drop. You know how Minecraft does drops now. It was basically like a drop. But now, like, I don't even want to do it that way. I don't like hyping stuff up, and then, I just want to push the latest changes to production that are stable, and just give people new features, better features now, instead of waiting artificially. That does mean there's slightly less hype with these things, so I don't know. It's a challenge to balance. Ooh. Yep. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, no way we got pesky disc in the game. Is that Level Wilson? I cannot remember the Xbox username. It might be. It might very well be. I think I remember. It's somebody. Or maybe it's Nia. I forget. Who's Pesky Disc? Who's dressed in a purple robe or something? You can get the default Minecraft skin. Like one of the defaults now. It's new. But yes, let me show you the spawn. Just wanted to see the stream. Well, hi. Thanks for joining. Yes, it's Level Wilson. Okay, good. I thought I was crazy for a second. I'm glad I remembered. But yeah. So spawn refresh is the next big thing to be done. And again, like I know with other Minecraft servers, there's the whole thing of like we need to wait to tell people about what's being worked on and wait and do like a big drop and stuff. And there's something to be said about these hype cycles, in terms of generating community excitement and stuff like that. But honestly, I just want to be transparent and upfront with y'all and be like, hey, here's what we're working on. Here's what's going on. What we're doing here is this. And you can provide feedback and all that good stuff. I don't like when I was working at a different Minecraft server, we used to be very secretive about what we were doing. And I don't know. That's just not the way I want to do things now. So here is going to be the new spawn. It's a different spaceship. It is different. And there's different planets, but it should be rather familiar, but it should still be different. Yeah. I guess also in terms of community like engagement and excitement, these streams like this is more of like a development sort of like Zatsudan sort of working stream, chatting stream. So, it's not going to have as much hype around it. I wonder in regard to generating hype for things, would it be good to do a stream like the old one anyways? You know what I mean? Like, be like, hey, these features have maybe been out for a while. Some are new, some are old, right? But we're finally doing a stream to celebrate them all together properly. I don't know if that would make any sense to do. You know what I mean? Like, for the player caching system, from like a month from now, we have, like a pretty big update event or something like that. Would that make sense? To then be like, aha, and we're celebrating the new player caching system and everything. I don't know. That's kind of the challenge sometimes to to kind of think about. Because I am thinking about the community in general and like what can we do to kind of get people to be excited about what's happening. Because when you're kind of dripping updates along, it's really good, but then it means, oh, it's a little bit less exciting. So it's like, well, managing player expectations and getting people excited to come on. I don't know. That's kind of difficult to kind of think about. It's something you have to think about as, the community's leader, server owner, all that good stuff. But anyways, I digress. I digress heavily. So, this is the new spawn area. It's pretty cool. The NPCs here are going to be moved. You can see that this is just like little notes for me and me saying, hey, Martin, don't forget, please set the new first join spawn area. It's going to be very awkward if people are joining for the first time and they're spawning in the old location. Very, very awkward indeed. Creative updates. Alright. That's what I'm thinking too. Like, there's no point. Well, there is a point, but it's not a very, it's a point to wait, but it's not great. To wait. It's like, why are we artificially doing this? Why are we artificially preventing better things from being in the world? Right? It's like if somebody's about to drop out like a new album, the album's done, but you're just waiting for the release date. It's like, well, is it really helping people if you're just waiting to drop it on that date, or is dropping it when it's ready? I don't know. It's the same thing with Minecraft servers. But anyways, cool stuff happening here. Cool stuff happening here. And a part of it is me wanting to, well, okay, so for this is going to be QR codes, and there'll be videos. But I'm kind of waiting on the videos. I'm kind of waiting to have more things improved on the server before I go and make these videos. But it will basically show people, like, for example, they're joining for the first time, and they'll be coming up here, and they're looking around, and they're like, how do I play? Well, it will be really cool. You can just take your phone out, scan the QR code, and watch it. Watch the video. Now, theoretically, too, I'm going to have it so you can click on a sign or something. I'll have to figure that out. Probably like a block. And this will be a feature I can add into the server where, like, it's basically like click events, where if like a block or something, like you can attach a command to a block. I think it'd be really cool. And that would enable something like this, where there's a QR code, or if you're on Java, you don't want to take your phone out per se, necessarily. You might not have a phone. You just want to be able to click the link. You can like click a sign or something under here, and that would bring the chat, bring up a message in chat you can click. So pretty cool. But when it comes to the clickable, like assigning it to a block, oh, that's difficult. Because in essence, you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful with that. Yeah, that's something to be very careful about. Because I don't want players to be able to link bad things. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to link malware. I don't want people to like allow people to execute commands for them and stuff. So it would need to be something like you'd look at a block or something and it'd be like PIC, like interactive, or PIB interactive block, or I see. Like, planet interactive command, add, URL, youtube.com/watch equals, swag. Something like that. You know what I mean? Where like, and if you tried to do another URL, this would work. If you tried to do like libregalaxy.org, it would block you and say, hey, you can only add YouTube links or something like that. It'd only be a set list of trusted URLs. And then this data for the interactive commands would probably be in the planet file, I'm thinking. Yeah, that makes sense, because it'd be in the planet world. Have I ever showed you guys the planet file, what that looks like? I don't think I have. Maybe I have. I think I probably did at one point. But I'll show it to you. Let's go into worlds, and let's just go into this one. That's not a very good example. Let's go into... Is this a better example? I'm looking for one that has like a good amount of data to it. Okay, sure, why not? This is fine. So this is an example of a Libre property config. And this is with this planet, actually. This is in my local test server. You can see how it works. It basically is just saying, here's the data points. And here's how the memberships work. Memberships are groups. Groups are memberships. I've changed the name of what a group is like 20 different times. It's kind of bad, so it's called different things at different places. But suffice to say, it's a group. And it would basically be like an added data point, like this. Like IC, well, and then, I don't know. Or maybe it'd be like, yeah, location, the location data, X, Y, Z, command, or type, URL, value, youtube.com/watch. So here you go. It would be like this. It basically would be adding a data point for interactive commands, and it would have the location saved, and then it'd have the value, type, whatever. I'm thinking, because when you implement a feature like this, you have, the value category. Would that fit for the other conditions that will be available in the future, right? Because if you want to do something that's not just a URL, let's say you want to do a... Actually, here's this. How about this? Y'all come up with some ideas. What else? What type of other commands or functions or actions would you want? Like if you click a block or something. Now again, it can't just be like any command. But it could be something. Because I want to make sure that, having that type and value system, if that would be enough. Because maybe you need more value points. It might be worth it to have that set up just to think about. These are the questions you have to think about when you're developing these features, because once they're deployed, it's difficult to do stuff. So you click and run a sound. Okay, yep. Oh, I just figured it out. Yep. Hold on. It wouldn't just be like that. No. Let's go back. No, here we go. It wouldn't even be like that. It would have the location, right? And it would have X, Y, Z, right? And then it would have entries. And then for each entry, yep. Because you'd want to run multiple sounds, right? Maybe type equals sound, or just multiple things. Value, player. I don't know. I don't remember what the what the keys are, but it would be something like this. Actually, that makes sense. So it would say like at this location, then run these entries for the player. So like URL or like no, I don't like this because I want it to be send MSG, right? Not just URL. So now I have to do a whole different thing for this. It'd basically be using clever text, which is not bad. That should be fine actually, because clever text will that's what allows links to be posted in chat. Like if I do like LibreGalaxy.org, or a bad example. If I do https:// there we go. Then you can click it. It automatically. So I could just use that to send message via clever text. Okay. Yeah, variables and stuff. That's where it gets a little complex with that. But that would be cool to have. I know what you mean. Okay, I kind of need to do some market research here in terms of other servers, right? I think having some sort of like data, like ability for players to add in data to their planets and like increment that and control that would be really cool. But it's kind of difficult to think about because it has to like support a lot of stuff. So for example, if you wanted to do a survival world and you wanted it to be like an economy survival world with your friends, because right, I want Libre Galaxy Planets to be able to support different use cases. So let's say you wanted to do like an eco SMP, right? You'd need to have a data store for the money, let's say the coins that each player has. And like that in and of itself is great. That's normal, that's fun, that's a data store. But the big question is, how am I going to expose that feature so planet creators can do stuff with it without letting players screw around with it? You know what I mean? Like, you kind of need to think about the whole implementation of it. You can make a computer. Yeah. Um, Dang, I'm thinking about this now. Yeah. Hmm. Text display. Yeah, there's a problem with that though. They're actually blocked on the server. That's mostly because people were screwing around with them, and I didn't want them to do that. Uh, but I mean, having the ability to use, like for example, like um, these, I think would be great. Is this is great. I love these. These holograms are great, and giving people access to do that in their plants would be great too. I'd have to test it out though, because there's always a problem about like, okay, how can I make sure that this works into the future? Because this would be hooking into a different hologram system. This is called fancy holograms, right? There's always a liability though, in that the plugin stops being updated, and then what am I supposed to do? Because the problem is, like, if it's my code base, fine. I coded it. I kind of know how it works. You know, kind of remember how it works. Like I can fix it. If it's somebody else's plugin, especially because this is using NMS, and I don't want to screw with NMS. Nah. Like maybe some other day I want to screw with NMS. Not today. Today is not the day for that. So it's like, oh gee, using a different API is fine, but it's like, is it going to be maintained in the future? Probably. You never know. And then, what bugs exist in it? You know, is it going to figure things out in a sensible way? For example, Oh, here we go, actually. Let's go to my planet, so let's go to spawn refresh. There should be NPCs in this world. There aren't any. There should be NPCs. I added them here. There aren't any. I have to do citizens reload to get them to appear. And this is because the world was not loaded initially. Does that make sense? Like, the world was not loaded initially, so these NPCs didn't get loaded in. But think about the fact that they didn't get loaded in when I loaded up the world. So different, like, annoying sort of mitigation-y, fixy things would need to be in place. I don't know if that needs to be the case for holograms. Actually, no, it doesn't, right? So I go to pspawn, or... What? Okay, I'll have to fix that. No permission to do pspawn. I thought I had holograms. Wait, no, I do. It's under here. Yeah, here you go. So no, that's fine. Okay, that quells that concern. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. And it's also interesting with I don't even know, was it fancy holograms or a different one? No, it was decent holograms. We were using decent holograms before, and now we're using fancy holograms. I know it's all these different names. There was an issue because the world names internally are literally UUIDs. Like, UUID of the world, this is literally what the folder name is called, and that would break things on decent holograms. Like, it would actually break their plugin. I had submitted it as a bug report, and they fixed it. Clearly, that's not a problem here with fancy holograms, but just stuff like that, like weird bugs occur. And that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know why I don't have permission for spawn. Let me, here you go. Let me check this out. We've got a lot of software open. So, spawn SCMD. Oh, I think I actually might know why that happened. Maybe. It's Libre property.spawn is the parameter for it. I don't know, I guess I just added that in. Okay. Why not? I'll have that back. LP group default permission set right spawn true. There we go. There we go. That is fine. Ooh, this locked is not colorized. I'll have to figure that one out. I wonder what that is. This is probably because it's a translation key and the translation keys were not updated. Let's go into my local test server and let's test some stuff out. So let's go into edit time and let us lock the daylight cycle. And let's let's do pinfo. This is locked. Okay. You see, it's not colorized. I don't know if I did that intentionally or not, but it doesn't look right when it's that color. It needs to be a different color. So I will change it. So now if we go into, and here we go. I'll show you guys the development process. And yes, my code is a little messy here. I know there's stuff kind of all over the place. It's a little much. Here we go. Oh yeah, and also just a comment on memberships like P group, and you know how there's different groups and they do things. A part of the reason why you can't edit these values right now is because they're going to change in the future. And again, it's going to be painful for me if things get, I have to change things internally more after y'all have changed it, so I'm not doing that right now. Okay, oh yeah, but this is an example of, like, the future. Like, you could see there's future chaining here. And this is, like, even in the thumbnail, I think. Is this the file I showed off? You see how it's chained together, the futures. This is what you have to do when it's asynchronous. So this is for info here. And as you can see, it's getting it from the localization manager. Planet info locked. I think a part of that is because... Yeah, and I'll just have that be 7. And this is something I need to do, like basically add in more translation keys, because right now a lot of values are hard-coded, and this allows the server to be translated into different languages. So I think at one point, Yanin, you were watching here, I don't know if you're still watching, but like, for example, if I did a video on Bilibili about my Minecraft server, and people who only speak Chinese want to play on the server, this would allow them to do that, because then components could be translated. So, for example, I don't have much translated, but I do have the part of the Planet Warp menu translated, right? So if I go actually into options, language, and I put Spanish on here, now you can see my Minecraft is in Spanish. Let's see whether clear. It's a little laggy here. So my Minecraft's in Spanish. You can see all the blocks and stuff that are in Spanish. And if I do P warp, it's in Spanish. Crear warp escribe un nombre en el chat para crear una urdimbre en tu ubicación. Okay, I probably really butchered that, but essentially, according to Google Translate, in essence, this should be right. And same thing for the edit warps, but then for click to teleport, there's no translation key there. It defaults to English. They didn't add a translation key in Spanish for that. You can see it's in Spanish because my client is in Spanish. See? And if I go into Idoma and go into English, again, same command. Now it is in English. Type a name in chat to create a warp at your location. And all that stuff. Yeah. So pretty great. This is, this is another thing I worked on before, and I was very proud of, and I'm still very proud of, and we're going to see the fruits of it once I add more translation keys, and then you have people who are contributing to making it, like actually translating it for me, because I don't speak other languages other than English. So having people who can do that would be great. So, yeah, there you go. For your information. And this is, again, all based on the player locale, which is something that's actually sent to the server, if you guys didn't know that. So the servers can know that you have your Minecraft language, set to English or Spanish. It's pretty cool. But, all these different, like, accessibility features and whatnot, like, this is all stuff I've worked on, because I want to make sure the server is fun for everybody, accessible for a wide audience, the best it can be, pretty much. So as you can see, there's so many directions that can be gone here. It's almost kind of difficult to figure out, okay, like, what are we doing? What is next? What is this all about? So, yeah. There you go. Also, let me remove this. This is a reminder for me to talk about heads. So, now that we have done that, and I've showed off a few things here, I've talked about all the server changes. That's pretty good. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. And what's this? Aha. That's the add button. Okay. That's funny. I wonder, are you guys actually getting any ads right now? I always wonder if if the add button even works. That's crazy though. Like I'm looking on my phone and I'm seeing some like crazy YouTube ads, y'all. Like on my own stream. Why is it showing like crazy YouTube ads? Like it's literally talking about like I don't even want to say it. Like what the heck? It's talking about Germany, but in a different time. Let's say like, geez, what the heck? YouTube ads, bro. They're crazy. Okay. So is there anything else that I can show off that y'all might be interested in seeing? I talked through a lot of the stuff that has happened on the server. And all these different kind of changes that have occurred. Walked through a lot of the cool technical side to things. What else is there to talk about? Well, I guess this would be more just a working stream. And I know it might be a little boring in that regard. And my apologies if that is the case. I don't mean for it to be super boring, but you know, it's just kind of how it's going to be, probably. Or unless I should just, you know, kind of cut it here. What do y'all think? You know, I've done my showcase stuff. Even though I kind of named the stream sort of a working stream, I'm kind of one of those people who are like, hey, let's just actually show off everything, and then that's that. So let me know what you're thinking. And also, if there's a playlist y'all like, let me know. I'm thinking of doing some other stuff too, like, oh, what else? I want to do a stream where I watch old YouTube videos with y'all. Like, it's just like a hangout session, just watching YouTube videos pretty much, or something like that. I think it kind of sounds like fun. I don't know. I see different VTuber mentioned. VTubers do that, and I'm like, hey, that looks like fun. I would like to do that. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff to think about when it comes to everything I'm working on. Like, even with YouTube, I'm like, hey, what do I want to do with this channel? I want to have a good positive impact on the world. And a part of that is going to be the general idea of making content that is valuable and not just kind of slop. So I'm like, you know, I don't want to just like throw stuff out there to throw it out there. I want to have some sort of value to it. And I think that this stream has been good insofar that I've talked about all these technical things that are really cool. And honestly, a lot of the stuff I don't see other Minecraft servers doing. Or only other Minecraft servers might be doing them, but they're really like large. So it's impressive for me to have all this infrastructure integrated into my software stack. Because typically there's a whole lot of like teams of people working on these types of things. I've come to realize that the YouTube app is not showing chat correctly, and I do not know why. Because I'm going to start missing messages if it doesn't show chat correctly. There we go. Fixed it. All right. Well, honestly, I think for now this is good. I've talked about what I wanted to talk about. And then at some point, I want to do some different content on this channel, actually. there's stuff to do. I want to do more Linux stuff on here. I want to do maybe even some like Minecraft plugin tutorial videos on here. There's a lot of stuff I could do. And now it's the summertime. It's like, oh geez, like how am I going to spend my time? Because this is probably the last time I'm going to have time to do stuff. Before I start doing internships and whatnot, probably next summer. So it's like, oh boy, I have to spend my time somewhat wisely. But in terms of the goals for this live stream, originally it was literally going to be like, can we get everything pushed to production? And I actually just did that last night. Which is a little bit silly, but it works. Glad that I did that, actually. But now that I did that, it's like, okay, well, there's that the goal has been completed for this stream already, before it even started, which is kind of good. It gave me the time to talk about all this stuff, and give you an idea of all the work that's gone in, because really a lot of work has gone into getting. Whoop, let's not do that. I don't want that server. Into just doing things here. My last, I guess, CTA call to action is going to be, please help me test things on the server. Feel free to try to break things and see what you can do with it. Again, there's probably going to be bugs that are in here, and I want to know, you know, if I can, well, I want to know about them so I can fix them, in essence. But, yeah, that is going to be it for this stream for now. Maybe I'll do another one at some point. But thank you for watching, and have a marvelous day. Peace, peace.